Good morning, everyone. This is Ken Diaz, the United MEC President, speaking to you from the United MEC office in Chicago. I wanted to give you a further update of where we are today. The first point I want to make is please keep off all comments as I'm speaking. Please, you can add them afterwards, but it was confusing to some that were watching the video previously. So just please listen to everything I have to say first before we start putting all comments. So once again, please do not comment on the feed until afterwards, until you hear everything I have to say to you. Okay, so obviously since Tuesday when I spoke to you, there's been a number of developments that have changed since then. There is more reductions in flying. The situation is changing with different restrictions putting in place by different countries. Different restrictions being put in place by various states and communities across our country. So the situation has changed since Tuesday. Okay, so let's talk about where we are today. So obviously, we don't have bids to bid on yet for April. Part of the issue of that is that management's been working around the clock to ensure the revised timeline for April, that bidding can support all of the IT processes that will be required during the compressed time period over which bidding is planned. Those schedule changes were still taking place as of yesterday. I do expect that work will be done over the weekend to keep informed, keep visiting the website, keep in contact with your local council newsletters, so that we know the bidding can take place at the time that we're anticipating, somewhere over the weekend, most likely on Sunday. But timeline hasn't been finalized only because of all the changes that are coming hourly. They're not happening daily anymore. So that's where we are with the bidding process. So I know many of you have been writing me, texting me, calling me. I've heard from your elected leadership. So let me go over something first that I think we all have to understand. So when the original announcement came out from the corporation that we have to cut the payroll of our company 50%, there's no denying that fact, but let me tell you the difference, because it's been interpreted by many in our community that that means a 50% pay cut. That is not the definition of reducing the payroll 50%. Each group on the property has to decide, including management, how we get to that figure in short fashion. But as the representative of the flight attendants, this is probably the most important sentence I'm going to say to you. Okay? We have a fully enforced contract that provides us to share in the company's success, but also provides the company with relief during an economic downturn. I suggest everyone read the contract that we ratified. You have my commitment to 100% enforce our contract at the same time, knowing that we have to save this airline. Okay? So let's get off of the 50% pay cut, because that is not the same as cutting 50% of payroll. So read the contract. I am fully committed to enforcing the contract, and there are provisions of the contract that can give the needed relief to the corporation to attain what we need in the short term. But decisions have to be made by the corporation in order for those provisions to go into effect. So please take that sentence that I just said and read the contract that we all ratified. There cannot be a change to your contract without ratification. So that is off the table. We have what we need in the contract to deal with any situation that arises. And yes, this epidemic and pandemic is only going to get worse. We know that. Our country is at the same place that Italy was 3 weeks ago, and it's going to get worse. I have the commitment of the entire United MEC that we are in to save the company, at the same time 100% enforcing the contract that you work under currently. Now, let's talk about the bailout package. There's been comments about, okay, we're getting a bailout, so we have no worries. That is a false statement. We don't have all the details of the airline bailout package, how it is being crafted, the exact share that will come to United Airlines. But the bailout package being contemplated is a short-term fix. It gets us a couple of months more, okay? It is not the fix for everything that we will be going through in the future. I am going to need your support as the employees of this company and as the flight attendants of this company, that later today there will be a campaign started that all of us, and I am saying all of us, are going to need to get involved in advocating to all government officials of all parties and all affiliations that Americans now have to pull together. Our airline industry is falling to depths never seen in the history of this industry, and it needs to be saved. And it can't be saved in weeks from now or months from now. Without government assistance, we don't get the extra time to plan forward. To the corporation executives of this company who have been working around the clock, I am pleading with you, decisions have to be made, and they have to be made soon. The short-term plan and the long-term plan. Our country is already in, I believe, a recession. You're going to see unemployment numbers unseen in this country probably next month. This is not an alarmist, this is reality. And the reality of the situation that I have to deal with here at United Airlines is to protect, to ensure that we have a viable airline going forward. I have to ensure that I protect the 25,000 flight attendants on our seniority list with whatever way possible. And yes, that is going to be sacrifices. When you see the lines of flying come out, you are going to see lines that are of a historical magnitude of what pairings will be in your line. But remember, we have the contractual provision of a 71-hour min. You are paid the greater of what you fly and what the 71-hour min will be. There will be no open time because there is not any flying to support open time. That is the reality. Yes, COLAs have been extended to tomorrow morning. Anyone, and I am saying anyone, that can apply for a COLA, please do. It does not affect if you are granted a COLA and we get to the place in time where we are talking about involuntary and voluntary. There has to be voluntary furloughs first. If you are on a COLA, you have the same rights as anyone else to bid for a voluntary furlough. So don't let that impact your decision on accepting a COLA. Until I see the actual block hours for April, which I have not seen, but it doesn't take much to figure out by the reductions that have already been announced and future reductions even since the last communication that came out from your union. There is going to be limited, very limited flying for April. That already is going to be a huge sacrifice for our flight attendants all across the system. I am pleading with you for complete solidarity. If we do not stick together, we should not be advocating for any flight attendant to be harmed more than anyone other. And yes, there are going to be major sacrifices just based on what we know today. And those sacrifices are in our contract. There is not going to be the ability to fly such high hours that many of you are accustomed to, because there is not the flying there. So already you are going to be financially hit next month. I want to say one other thing. Leaders have to be lead. There's a misconception about how your MEC officers are paid. We are United Airlines flight attendants. We are paid the same way that any United Airlines flight attendant is paid. I have made the decision and conferred with my MEC officers that for next month, I will be paid no more than my flight attendants will be paid. I am currently a straight reserve. That's what I would be holding if I was flying a line. I will not pay myself more than 78 hours if my flight attendants are sacrificing what they're going to see in the lines. But I want to put a caveat to that. And this is not to pat my back, it's just reality. Since January 23rd, your MEC president has taken a total of 7 days off. And I have paid myself less than 40% of what flight attendants above me have been making. Okay? That's the reality. Going forward, I am going to be working every day, whether I am involuntary furloughed or not, whether I am paid or not, because there's no alternative. Leaders have to lead and set examples. My fellow MEC officers have agreed with me on what we will be paid for April. I am not going to not take the same sacrifices that are being asked of my flight attendants. That is a fact. And it is going to affect all of us. All of us. I am asking for your complete support in helping me advocate for this position of fighting to enforce a contract which gives relief through the contractual provisions that are in our current contract. Read the contract, okay? And we all need to fight to enforce the contract. It will give the relief sought, maybe not in the same way that any other group may be doing it, or maybe not in the same way that United Management would be liking us to do it. But we're all in this together. We have to save this airline. So let's now talk about the bailout package. You are going to be asked to help us with that. We need that bailout package now, not in weeks. The airline industry cannot wait weeks for that package. You see how many flight from customers are on those aircrafts. You are seeing airports empty. everyone is going to be affected. And that's going to have a ripple effect on our economy. And when I hear commentators on television talking about maybe against helping the airlines, we are the fabric that continues the commerce that goes on in this country. The workers of this airline did not make the executive decisions that are being criticized today in the press. These are real people, Americans. We need your help. My 25,000 flight attendants are facing unprecedented times, as well as all the labor groups on this property. We have families to support. We have mortgages to pay. We are you, Americans, and it's time not to start this talk about any not bailing out this industry. This industry has to be bailed out. And it has to be bailed out fast. Time is of the essence. We are hemorrhaging money. You obviously see that. Bookings are falling through the roof. Cancellations are going up. All expenditures of this corporation have been stopped except for the vital expenses of continuing normal operations. And I have told management more of those cuts have to be made to get us through this storm. Yes, we stand with our company to make sure that we have an airline that can rebuild. That takes all of us. With that said, that's the information that I have to share with you today. But there's one other on a personal note. I know many of you have gotten my personal phone number. It is not a union number. It's my personal phone number. I am being inundated with hundreds and hundreds of texts, and I know they are all well-intentioned. I know people are scared because we don't have all the information. I'm asking you to please, I am inundated with the work that I am trying to do to advocate for saving all of our flight attendants and protecting our airline. And because of the amount of text messages and phone calls that are coming in, I'm missing some really important text messages, not only from executives of the corporation, but other labor leaders, of Congress, the international office. I need to have access to that. And although your intentions are well intended, please, I'm asking you, reach out to your local leadership. Call me at the MEC office, 847-292-7170, extension 519. But I'm asking you to please stop the text messaging to my personal phone because I can't possibly answer all of you because they're in the hundreds, okay? I know your sentiment. I share your sentiments. I will fight with every fiber of my body to represent flight attendants and to protect flight attendants and to protect this airline that we can rebuild once we get through this. And we will get through this.